Hey y'all, are you looking for that perfect customizable gift for that one person you know who loves beer? Or are you just looking for a good beginner friendly project to start learning how to create your own 3D designs? Well, if you are, then you came to the right place. So grab a cold beer, hit that subscribe button, and hang out while we design this unique bottle caddy perfect to suit any beer drinker or beer lover. All right, y'all, let's jump into it. The program we're going to use today to design this bottle caddy is Fusion 360. If you're not familiar with Fusion 360, that's fine. We're going to start at the very beginning and we're going to get you spun up. Fusion 360 is a very powerful integrated CAD and CAM software, but today we're going to focus just on the 3D CAD side. Fusion 360 is a free software if you are a hobbyist or a startup that makes less than $100,000 a year. I will have a link in the description to this page right here where you can go and download it. So without further ado, and no more looking at my ugly mug, let's jump into Fusion 360 and let's get started designing this project. So before we jump into Fusion 360, y'all hit me up in the comments. Let me know what y'all are sipping on while you're watching this video. Right now, I'm sipping on this Ghost Rider IPA. I'm out of my homebrew right now, so this will have to work. So y'all follow me to Fusion, and let's get this done. All right, guys, so here we are in Fusion 360, and I guess I kind of lied a little bit. You do still have to look at my ugly mug. I'm just a lot smaller now. So first thing that we want to do is come over here to File and go ahead and click Save. I'm going to call mine, I can't even type. Bottle caddy. You can call yours whatever you want, but we go ahead and save it so that Fusion's autosave functionality will kick in and it'll autosave periodically. So, and now mine wants to be slow. All right, there we go. So next thing that we want to do now that we have it saved is we want to go ahead and create a component. We want to work from components because it'll help us keep it organized, and it'll actually help us later on if we want to try to move it into a drawing and create a drawing or something like that from it. So we're going to start out working with one of the sides. So I'm going to call this component side 1. If you go ahead and name them from the beginning, it'll help keep you a little bit more organized also. I wasn't very good at this when I first started with Fusion, so I'm trying to get better with it. All right, so this bottle caddy, I want it to kind of resemble an actual beer bottle. So I'm going to bring in some reference material to help us a little bit. To do that, I'm going to come over here to Insert, Canvas, and I have a picture over here of, there it is, a beer bottle. We're going to open that up, and I'm going to select the face. I don't have a face yet, so I'm going to select this plane right here. And for now, I'm just going to go ahead and hit OK. So I don't want to move it or anything just yet. We'll kind of position it in a minute. The first thing I do want to do is I want to go ahead and calibrate it. So right now I have no idea what size this picture is, but we can change that. So I'm going to come over here to beer bottle. I'm going to right click, hit calibrate. And then what I can do, I can use my scroll wheel and zoom in just a little bit. I'm going to catch this edge here and then click once over here, and it gives me a dimension box. So, and now I can type in, because I know I want the width of this side to be about 5.5 inches. So I'm going to type in 5.5 and hit enter. You can see it blew up real big, so we'll scroll out now. So now the actual width of this canvas, or this picture that we're using for reference, is actually at about right at 5.5 inches now. So now we can really get started. So to start generating 3D models in Fusion, we first have to start with a sketch. So we're going to come up here to Sketch, and to create a sketch in Fusion, you have to create it on either a face or a plane. So since we don't have any faces created yet, I'm going to select one of these planes from the origin, which is going to be the same one I initially inserted my canvas in. All right, so now that we have a sketch created, we're in our edit mode for our sketch. I want to draw a rectangle, so I can come up here and select a rectangle, or I can hit R on my keyboard, which is a shortcut for rectangle. So click once and just start dragging out. So as long as I don't click again yet, I can go ahead and edit the dimensions of this box. If I click out, I can still edit it, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do it like this right now. So my width right now, I can type 5.5 because that's how wide I want it to be. So do not hit enter. Instead, hit tab. You hit tab, it'll move you over to your next dimension, which will be your height. I want that to be 11 inches. So now I have a box that is 5.5 inches wide by 11 inches tall. But you see how it's blue around here? That means this box is not completely constrained yet. I can actually pick this box and I can move it up wherever I want to. But I want to be able to fix it to where it will not move right now. So to do that, I'm going to come up here and use some of these constraints. So I actually want to use this midpoint. And actually, let me hit escape to go back to my selection tool first, because if you noticed, I still had this edge selected. I don't want that edge selected for this. So now that it's deselected, I'm going to click midpoint. I want to select this one down here, and then I want to pick that origin right there. So you see, once I clicked it, the box turned square because the width and the height have constrained dimensions, and it's fixed to this point right here now. So now if I go back to my selection tool, I can select that, and I can click it, but I can't drag it anywhere now. So, all right, good deal. All right, so I know also, actually, let me back up just a little bit. Now that I have that fixed and constrained, now we can kind of move our canvas around to kind of line it up where I want it to be. So I'm going to select this beer bottle. I'm going to right click it. And instead of calibrate this time, we're going to edit canvas. And you see, now I can move this thing around. I can move it here. I could click on that one, move it left and right. But it looks pretty good left and right. So I'm just going to move it up just a little bit. I'm going to scroll in some just to where it's... There we go. Right about there is good. I like that. So now I can come over here to this edit canvas panel and just click OK. And that'll get us out of that. So now I know that about the height to the divider that I want is going to be 4.5 inches from the bottom. So I want to come over here to this line tool. So I could click on the line tool, or I could just click L on my keyboard. Now I can snap to this edge here, and I can drag this out. I can drag this out, and I can move it up and down. If you see the little blue box right there, that tells me that it's 90 degrees right there, and I can get it to go ahead and snap to 90 degrees. If I don't snap it to 90 degrees, if you see this little icon right here, that's the same as this perpendicular icon here, which I say icon, the perpendicular constraint. So if you didn't quite, we'll hit Control Z, we'll back out of that. I'll show you what'll happen, what you can do if you don't quite get it 90 degrees. So that's a little exaggerated, but I'm going to come up there and pick up that perpendicular constraint. I'm going to click that line. I'm going to click that line, and it makes this line perpendicular to this one. So if you didn't quite get it to snap quite where you wanted it to, that's how you can constrain that one. So that one's good there. So now we want to dimension it. So to set a dimension, like I said, I know I want 4.5 inches from here to here. So to do that, we're going to hit D on the keyboard, which is your dimension tool. So now that I'm in the dimension tool, you see the icons changed next to the cursor. I click there, I click that line there, and I can drag it out and click, and now I can set this dimension. So I want to type in 4.5. So now we're at 4.5 inches there. The joinery I want on this is going to be a couple rabbet joints for the divider up top and for the bottom plate at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and draw those in, and I'm again going to use a line. So I'm just going to draw another line under there for this rabbet here. And then I'm actually going to pick up my rectangle tool for this one. And I'm going to click and get it to snap there. I'm going to drag out to this next line here. So now I have where my two rabbits are going to be drawn. But now I need to dimension those. So what was it on the keyboard for your shortcut for your dimension? That's it, your D. So I'm going to click D. I'm going to click that line, drag it out. So I know my material is going to be 4.5 inches. I'm sorry, not 4.5 inches. That's this dimension. The dimension of my material is going to be 0.482. So instead of me having to try to do math because I want this rabbit half the thickness of the material, I can do this right here. I can do 0.482 divided by 2. And I can make Fusion do math for me. Check that out. So now what I can do, so that's going to be half the thickness. Now I'm going to dimension this one here. So the same thing, but I have another little trick. Instead of having to type that all the way out again and get it to figure, you've already figured it out once. With this box highlighted and this dimension highlighted still, I can just come and click on that dimension right there that we already figured. And you see how it changed right here. Hit enter. And now this dimension is going to be the same as this one. We're going to do the same thing up here. And then I'm just going to click down here and hit enter. So that tells me that these dimensions here are the same as this one. So if I wanted to edit this, I could come in here and put 0.5 and it's going to change all of them to 0.5. But I'm just going to hit Control Z to undo that. So now I like the way those slots for my rabbits are drawn. Now let's actually tackle this profile that I was talking about that we want to do with this bottle. So I'm not going to follow it all the way down here. What I'm going to do is kind of draw the neck and the mouth of the bottle and then just kind of have it widen out till it gets to this point right here. And that's kind of the look that I'm going to, just to resemble the bottle. To do that, I'm going to jump over here to this tool right here, and this is our spline tool. So I'm going to click on the spline tool, and if you're familiar with, like the pen tool in Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop or something like that, or any other like CAD design, a Bezier curve type tool, this is going to be relatively similar. So what I want to do is I want to get it to snap to this top about where this curve starts here. And then I'm going to kind of find the middle of the curve. And I'm just going to start dropping nodes here. And I'm going to start dropping these nodes about where I want them. About where all these curves are. So and again, since we're going to come down here, I'm not going to come straight down here because I kind of have this inside curve up here. I'm going to kind of click off up here somewhere. And then get it to snap to this intersection here. All right, so that's all I want there. Now I can either hit escape on my keyboard and go back to my selection tool, or I can hit this little green check mark here and it'll pull me out of that. So now I'm still in my spline tool since I clicked the check box, but I'm actually done with my spline tool. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and hit escape. So now I can come in here, now that I got my selection tool, I can just kind of start pulling these handles. You see it's got these little handles here. I can pull those out, drag those out, and adjust them. And I'm just kind of scrolling in and out. So if you lose your handles, you just kind of click on the line and it'll bring them back. So kind of adjust those. And I'm just going to kind of tweak these until I get something that I like. Just similarly following the bottle. I'm not trying to get it just exact, but I want to get us something that fairly resembles this bottle. And I'm trying to get this one here. There you go, buddy. We're starting to look pretty good. And see, if I click next to a particular node, that's the node that it's kind of going to give me the handles for that I need. Another thing, if you saw that, if I press down on my scroll wheel, it'll give me kind of a hand tool where I can pick it up and just kind of drag it and reposition it so I can see it. So if you don't have a mouse with a scroll wheel, I really recommend you get one. All right, so I can drag these handles in. All right, this one's being kind of ornery. All right, there we go. Let's see. This one here. Oh, that ain't what I want. And I can actually click on the nodes also and kind of drag them around some. Whoa, too much. There we go. That's there. Let's drag this one in just a little bit. All right. Why did you connect to that one? That didn't do what I wanted it to do. Hey, we're going to Control Z and go back to, there we go, to where it wasn't connected. So, guys, I'm going to leave all my little screw ups in here. So, just so y'all know, I do make them myself. I ain't perfect at this. I'm just trying to learn also. So, all right. We're not going to get too crazy with it, but that kind of resembles the profile of a bottle. So, we're going to leave that there. All right. So, now I can click off of that. So, now what I want to do is instead of having to redraw this again, I'm going to just mirror this across. So to do that, I could actually make sure this origin is on and use the Z-axis on this origin, but I'm going to go ahead and draw me a construction line because I'm going to need it later on. So I'm going to hit L for the line tool, and then I come over here under my sketch palette, the line type option, this one right here. If I click on that, that's going to give me a construction line. I can also toggle that by hitting X on the keyboard. So we're going to turn that on. I'm going to get it to snap to the midpoint, and I'm going to draw me a little construction line there. All right, so I'm going to hit X to get out of that. I'm going to go back to my selection tool, and I'm going to click Create, and down here it says Mirror. So I'm going to select that line as my object. My mirror line is going to be that construction line that we just drew, and you see it just mirrored that across. All right, we're done with that. We can click OK. So now we need to draw our pocket that's going to be for our handle. So again, we're going to use the same thickness material. So I'm going to draw it out. So I know, again, I want it to be 0.482 wide. Tab, I want it to be 0.75, so 3/4 of an inch tall. I'm going to hit Enter. So again, you see the blue line. The dimensions are good, but it's not constrained. So I want it to be centered on this center line, which is, again, why we drew it. So I'm going to click Symmetry, and I'm going to select this side, then this side, and then lastly, I'm going to select that center line. And as soon as I do, it's going to center it and put those two lines symmetric to that center line. So those have turned black. I still need to constrain it more. So we're going to go to Dimension tool here, select that line, this line. We're going to drag that out. We're going to call that 0.75. All right. So now one last thing on this sketch that I need. I'm going to put a little magnet on the inside of this deal for either a cap catch or maybe for a little surprise for it later on down the road. But I'm going to go ahead and draw it for the magnet I got right now, which I believe my size is going to be 0.82. Click Enter and dimension again. Select the center of that point there. I'm going to pull it out here. It's getting kind of messy over there. And I want that about 3 inches. So I'm going to hit 3. Enter. All right, cool. That's pretty much all we need for this particular sketch. So we can come over here and clean this up a little bit. Let's turn that canvas off. We can click Finish Sketch. And now that we have our 2D sketch, we can go ahead and start extruding this into 3D space. So to do this, we're going to use our Extrude or Press Pull tool. So I'm going to hit Q on my keyboard for Press Pull. Also, you could hit E, which is going to bring up the Extrude tool, which they do work relatively different. I say relatively. They work pretty close to the same, but you are going to have instances when you get more complicated models that they are going to work a little bit different. And when we get to some of those situations, I'll show you those. But we're going to be fine here with just the Q tool for Press Pull. And I'm going to go ahead and select everything on this side right now. So now you see we have this little arrow. We can grab that little arrow and start pulling it out. We get us another dimension box. And again, my stock is 0.482. So I'm going to extrude it out to that dimension. All right, so now we have just a solid side here. If I turn this sketch off for just a second, you can see that all it is just a solid profile on the side. So let's turn that sketch back on, and let's go ahead and do the cutouts for our rabbets, our magnet hole, and our handle hole. So again, I'm going to hit Q for Press Pull again. We're going to click that sketch geometry for that one, that for the rabbit slot and the magnet, and then for this magnet for our rabbit slot there. So I really want the inside to be this side here, but my sketch is on the opposite side. So to get it to extrude from there, I can come over here to this panel and the extrude panel, And from the start right here, instead of profile plane, which is the plane that the sketch is on, I can come down here and do from object, which is where it's going to start. So it's telling me to select. So I'm going to select this other face right here. So now I'm starting from that face. So instead of pulling out this way, I'm going to come in this way. And as you see the red, that means I'm starting to cut. So now, again, I'm going to do minus 0.241, which is half the distance, actually half the thickness of my stock. So now if we turn the sketch off, now you see we have some nice little slots for rabbits for our divider and for our bottom. We have a hole here for our handle and a little hole here for our magnet. All right, so now that we have one drawn, just like the sketch geometry, we don't need to recreate this particular side again. So we can just mirror this across just like we did the sketch. But to do that, we need something to be able to mirror it around. So for that, we're going to use a construction plane. So right up here, I'm going to click that, and I'm going to make me a construction plane that's halfway in between this inside face of this side and the side that we're going to create. So I'm going to click on that to tell it that's where I want it to start from. And I'm going to pull this out 4.5 inches because I know I want the divider in the bottom to be 9 inches in between the two sides. So now that we got that, I'm going to click create, not the whole tool, create. And again, same thing, mirror down here. So in our mirror panel, instead of mirroring faces, we want to actually mirror the entire component. Because what this will do, it'll actually create us a whole separate component for the other side. So I'm going to click component. I'm going to select this side here. This is a component. The mirror plane is going to be this plane. And now we can just click OK. So now we actually have two separate sides. If you see, it showed up down here. So I can click it once, and I can click and kind of hold, and it'll let me let me change the name. So I'm going to call this one side 2. All right. So now that we have two separate components, you see how it's kind of a wireframe here? That's because our active component is still the first one that we started with. If we come down here and click on side 2, you see how this little radio button jumps up here. We can click on that, toggle that on, and now it'll give us the other one. So if you see though, that component copied everything, and even our canvas is turned on this other component. So let's clean it up. Let's turn that off. Let's turn this construction plane off for right now because we don't need it. Let's go back to this side 1. Let's turn, we still have a construction plane on somewhere. Oh, there it is. Sorry guys, I'm a little blind right now. But like I said, this is the stuff I screw up with when I'm doing this stuff too. So there, that quick, we have two sides. So now let's go ahead and jump into our geometry and our sketch to start doing our divider here and our bottom. So for that, I want to go ahead and create a new component to do that sketch in. And actually, let me back up. That sketch I actually want to create in my main project. And I'll show you why here in a little bit. So I'm going to go back and select my main project and have that as my active component. I'm going to create a new sketch. And I'm going to, I want this sketch to actually start on this face right here. It's going to be the top of that divider. So I'm going to click on that. And then what I want to do, let's scroll out, kind of get this to turn. I want to pick up some of this geometry from the other sides, make my life a little bit easier. So instead of just trying to draw it, I can actually project sketch geometry from existing models. To do that, I'm going to hit P for project. And I'm going to come down here and I want to select this face right here. Let's scroll out, and then I want to select this face right here. So now that I have both of those faces selected, I hit OK. I'm going to turn both of these sides off now. You see, I have some geometry over here that allow me to snap to it. So I know that's where my rabbits are going to be. So I can go ahead and pick up my rectangle tool. I can catch this corner here and then catch this far corner there. Boom, we got us a rectangle. So now again, for where that rabbit's going to be, I'm going to grab my line tool. I'm going to draw a line here. And even though that that projected geometry is there, I still like to draw my own line. All right, so now if we measure this, so I'm going to escape, and another little tool, I can click this little tape measure here, double check, boom, right there, that's 9 inches. So, all right, so what we want is a couple little holes in here, and when I say a couple, it's going to be 6, because this is going to be a 6-pack carrier. All right, I'm going to get straight on this thing where I can see it. You see your little box up here. It'll tell you which direction you're looking at. So we're actually looking at the bottom. So I want to click on the middle of that and give me a direct bird's eye view of that bottom. Even though I've already drawn one circle. So we got it drawn. I'm going to hit D for dimension. Drag a dimension out. I want this to be 2.5 inches. All right, cool. So now I also know I want this to be 1 inch and 3/8, so 1.375 from that side, and I want it to be, oh, there we go, 1.75 from where that rabbit starts, the inside edge of the side there. So now we have one drawn. So, and again, we don't need to draw each one individually and go try to dimension it and position it. So I'm getting ahead of myself. We can hit create again. This down here, you have rectangular pattern. Click rectangular pattern. Over here, select which object you want to make a pattern of. We're going to make the circle. The directions. So we want this direction there to start with. Your extent, what that's going to do, whatever dimension you put in here, that's going to be your dimension, but from center point to center point of this third circle, since it's set for 3 right now. We actually want spacing for this one. So I'm going to click spacing. My quantity as 3 is good, but it still looks like 1 because I haven't put a dimension here. So I actually want, what is it? 2.5, no, 2.75. What in the world did I just type? There we go. Dadgummit. Let's undo. I screwed that all up. Did y'all see what I did? I think I put 22.75. So let's start that over. So click it. That direction there. I want, select this line because I want this direction first. 3's good. We're still on spacing. I want 2.75. There we go. That looks a lot better. So this other axis, I want 2. And I also want 2.75. Cool. So there we go. So now we have where our holes are going to be. So that actually looks good for this sketch. So I'm going to click finish. I'm going to go ahead and turn these sides back on so I can make sure I see which direction I'm pulling this and kind of move this around. I'm going to turn this origin here off because this kind of irritates me. So now again, we can hit Q for our press pull tool and select the geometry that we want. So for right now, I want everything but the holes. Cool. So now that it's selected, I can start dragging it out, and I can either drag it out and do the same, figuring how the thickness of this, or I can just catch that corner. It's going to drag it out to there. All right. So now if you see, it's trying to go ahead and join this to the sides because Fusion down here on this operation is going to try to assume what you want to do. But I don't want to join. I actually want to create an entire new component. So I'm going to click New Component and click OK. Good deal. So now that that component is created, I want to come down and I want to make that my active component because I got a little bit more I want to do with this. I want to, make this the thickness of the actual stock. Right now, it's just the thickness of this rabbet that's going to go on the side. Okay, so I'm going to get this where I can see it. Hit Q again. Select just this face minus the, I'm sorry, cancel. I still need this sketch up here. There we go. Select the sketch geometry. And just like we did before, when I hit Q for press pull, I'm going to come down here to object because I want it to extrude from this bottom. Pull it on out. We'll do that same 0.482 divided by 2. All right, so now we have our divider here drawn with our rabbet in place for our joinery. We need to create a bottom. And I'm going to do it very similar to what I did for the divider, but I'm actually going to turn this component off. I'm going to get up here where I can see, hit my press pull, select the same geometry I did for the bottom, and then I'm going to again use from object, and I'm going to select this face this time to extrude from, and then we're going to start extruding. And see, did you see what it said? It said the component's not visible because it's trying to create me a new body because I'm inside this component and I have the visibility toggled off. So it's trying to assume that I want to create a new body, but I actually want a new component. So I'm going to go ahead and click new component. And why are you still doing this to me? All right, so let's trick it. Let's turn this component back on. And we're going to do 0.241. There we go. And you know what? That's where I screwed up. Let's undo this. Undo. See what I did? Actually, hold on. I want to show you what I did. I'm going to do redo. And if I open this up, instead of me, since component 3, which is actually my divider, which I need to change the name of that, was the one that was the active component. When I tried to make a new component, it actually just nested another component inside this component, but that's not what I want. I actually want to go ahead and make the entire project my active component. And let's try that again. So let's Q, select all this geometry. Cool. Now, same thing. Object, because that's where we're extruding it from. I'm going to select that face. We're going to start dragging it out. 0.241. Again, it's trying to join, but we want to, new component. Select OK. All right, good deal. So now we have the component we want. And before I forget this time, let's go ahead and rename it. Let's stay organized. Bottom. Let's rename this one. Remember, click it and then kind of click and hold, and it'll allow you to edit it. And this is going to be divider. Cool. All right, so now we need to draw the rest of it again. So just like we did before, let's go ahead and hit Q for press pull. Select just the middle part, and then object. Select that, and we're going to pull it out. And this is one thing that would kind of mess you up. Since we're extruding from an object, if I tried to click on this corner and get it to snap, instead of it getting it to snap, it's going to think that you're trying to change where you want it to extrude from. So you kind of lose that functionality just a little bit, just a little quirk that drove me crazy till I figured it out for a while. I just wanted to show you. So let's try that again. Q. I'm going to go object from there. So I'm pull it out. So I know 0.241. And you see what I did? I screwed it up again. Let's try it again. Q. From object. And this happens to me all the time. From object. I got in a hurry. And instead of join, which hold on. And this is another reason. I'm about to screw up again. Let's hit cancel. Another reason it's messing me up is I need to go ahead, since we've created it, swap into this component and make the bottom component my active component. So now, one more time. And I'm not cutting any of this out, guys. I'm going to show you my little screw ups, because even the little bit that I've learned about this program, I still screw it up also. So let's drag that out. So now this join is going to join just to this bottom. But we need a bottom, not holes. So I need more than just this geometry anyway. So let's come back up here and select more profiles. So we're going to select that, and that. Cool. Our distance down here, 0.241. Join. Good. Boom. There we go. So now we have a divider with two sides. Let's make this one our active just so we can take a look at it real quick. There we go. So we have a divider, a bottom that's got some little recesses there, two sides. We're getting there, guys. So now we really just need a handle and a couple little side pieces here, and we're going to be about done with this one. So again, I want to come up here and create a new component. And I forgot to name that one, which is fine. We can change it now. Handle. Okay, we're going to create another sketch. We've done this a time or two now. But I want this sketch to come from here. We're again going to project. And so I can actually select through stuff, but see, it's trying to select this whole side. If I click and hold, it'll bring up this little panel right here, and I can kind of scroll down through them and get it to highlight on the face or the object that I want it to select. So I've got this one. I click that. Now I'm click and hold again because I want to project that one also. Cool. There we go. So now we have some projected geometry in there. I can go ahead and turn these sides off. So, oh, there it is. Side. Let's even turn the bottom off. We'll turn all of them off for now. So, and we'll even turn this sketch off up here. We're just going to clean this up. So I still have my projected geometry here. So I'm going to get us some construction lines going here. So again, y'all remember how to do that? What is it? Yep, that's it. L. So, and then X for construction line. So I'm going to go from, catch this projected geometry there. I'm going to catch this corner here. Boom. And I'm going to draw one more random one up here. Which we'll fix that in a minute. Now see how it drew kind of crooked? I'm going to show you how to fix that in a second. So, and then I'm going to catch this midpoint here. And I'm going to draw just a straight vertical one. And I'm going to click that, get out of it. So, go back to my selection tool by hitting escape. Now this one, I can constrain that to where it is parallel with this. So this parallel, I've got it highlighted. Boom, there we go. Fix my little screw up from when I drew it. I'm going to hit D for dimension again. And again, I want this one also 0.75 from that one, since we already know this one is, because this is off the original geometry. All right, cool. So we're going to go back to this spline tool again. We're going to draw some more curves. So, oh, I don't want a construction now, so let's get rid of that. There we go. Just something about like that. I'm going to hit the check marks. And now, again, I can go back to my selection tool. And I can kind of adjust these. Give me just a nice little slope here. You know, something just to... something a little different than just a dowel rod or just a straight handle. So we're going to keep it basic though. All right, so we got our little curve. Now let's go back to our line tool. We're going to click L. And we're going to draw out some actual lines and connect up with these. So there we go. There we go. I'm going to catch this middle here. So another little constraint, it's kind of hard to really throw dimensions on some of these Bezier curves. If you just don't like the blue and you don't want it to move anymore, you can come up to this fix. And you can click that, and instead of it turning black, it's going to turn green. Well, it's just showing you that you just fixed it where it's at using that fix command. So just another little tip. All right, so now, just like we did before, I'm going to come up here to create. I'm going to click mirror. I'm going to not there. There we go. I'm going to select all my lines. Oh, not that one. So you see how it's trying to select that line also? Just like we did before with the selecting the face, I can click and hold, and it'll give me this panel. And if you got a couple lines that are in the same general vicinity and it's trying to select the one that you don't, you can do that also to be able to select that line. So we've selected those to mirror. Hit that to select our mirror line. We're going to select this line. Boom, there we go. All right, so now we got a curve there. We got a curve there. Now, instead of redrawing it again down here, we're going to come up here to the offset tool. And I'm going to select all this geometry again. And something is not connected right. So let's hit cancel. Let's see if we can figure out. I see what it is. Let's go back. So undo a couple times. My line snapped to my handle and not to this node right here. So let's try to redraw that. So let's make sure it snaps to the node that we want. There we go. This one should be good. Now let's try that again. So mirror, we're going to select that, and click and hold because it's trying to select the wrong one again. All right, mirror line, boom. All right, there we go. Now let's try the offset, see if it'll select. There we go. Now it'll select the whole thing. So I want to come down here, so which means I'm gonna have to drag it negative. If you see here, I want minus 0.75. There we go. All right, so it won't let me do both of these at the same time, and I should have showed you that it wouldn't. But the reason is because these are actually still two separate sketches on either side of the line. So if I try to select both of them, it won't let me, because for this one, I'm going to have to drag it in a positive direction. And this one was a negative direction that I had to drag it. So I'm going to show you. So I've got that line selected. So if you can see my dimension right here, when I start dragging it, well, it made a liar out of me. Minus 0.75. All right. Every other time I've done those, it's been opposite and it wouldn't let me select the both. So, all right, it made a liar out of me. But I digress. So, let's finish this off by closing these ends up right here. So we have some closed sketch geometry that we can actually extrude. All right, we can finish sketch. I'm going to hit Q for the press pull. Select all of these. I'm going to turn my sides back on. Give me something to snap to. And let's back that up where I can see it. There we go. Let's get it to select that point. Good deal. 0.482. I like it. We're already in our handle component. There we go. There's our handle. So let's turn this sketch off so we can kind of see what we're doing. All right, looking good. So the last thing that we need is just a couple little panels right here, just to kind of clean it up, hide our little rabbit joints there. Just add a little bit of class. So to do that, I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to create another component. And this is going to be, we'll just call it the trim. Works for me. I'm not very good at naming convention, so you'll just have to bear with me. And I got ahead of myself. I'm trying to go ahead and, nope, I do need to. I'm going to create a sketch. I'm going to select this face right here. All right, we're going to project some geometry again. So I'm going to project this line, and I'm going to project this line. Hit OK. We'll go to our rectangle tool, which was what to get that? Yep, that's it, R. Click and drag out. Do D for dimension. I want this 1.25. Good deal. There we go. So that's all we need for that. Finish sketch, Q. We're going to select that and see, because of the projected geometry, it's still kind of giving me some funky sketch geometry, but that's fine. Just make sure you got everything you need selected. Kind of rotate where we can see it. I'm going to pull it out, and I know I'm going to make this 0.25. Good deal. All right, so now all we need to do from here is basically make a couple of copies of it. And to do that, I'm going to use this Move Copy tool. So I'm going to select on that. I'm going to get this thing to snap to this corner right here as the origin. And one little pro tip, I'm going to tell you, this will eat your lunch. Before you start moving anything, if you want to create a copy, you need to come down here and click this Create Copy. Because if not, once you start moving it, it won't give you the option to come click this and click Create Copy. If you don't believe me, well, just ask me how I know. So now that we got that selected, I can start dragging down, and just like we did before selecting faces, I can find, there we go. I want it to click to that corner or snap to that corner. I don't know why I said click, but that's good. Okay. All right, so we got that side done. Now all we got to do is take both of those and copy them to the other side. So I want to actually use this point as my origin this time. So I'm going to click on that corner. Then I'm going to use my cursor and select this other rail here. So now we got both of them selected. Again, almost did it. Create Copy. Start dragging out. And I can click on that corner there. And click OK. So that's it. We are drawn. So we'll come back here, make this our active component, click off of it. Let's turn off the visibility on any of these sketches just to clean it up a little bit, close that stuff up. All right, and there we go. Let's rotate it around a little bit. And there's our bottle caddy drawn. We could actually clean it up, come in here and add some fillets right now, but I'm going to just leave it as is, and we'll get into that later on in another tutorial. But just real quick, I know this thing's getting long. I'm going to hit A on my keyboard. I'm going to bring up my appearance panel. Let's just make this look good real quick. So I can come through here and it's got me some options. I'm going to click on wood, and let's give this thing some cherry. So I'm going to grab that, just click and drag and let loose on whatever component or body you're wanting to try to give a little appearance to. There we go. And just make it look good. Hold that out. And there we go. Nope. Nope, didn't do it. There we go. Now we go. All right. And now escape, get out of that. And there we go. There's a nice little 3D render, which is another reason that I like using Fusion 360, is because I can make a nice little render and have a nice little product to show a customer of whatever project I'm designing for them, so they can see basically what their project's going to look like before I ever start actually drawing it. So let's let y'all look at me again. So guys, thank y'all for hanging out through this entire video. I know it was a long one. I know I threw a lot of information at you. Guys, again, I'm no expert at this program. If you're better than me at this program, you got some tips, some stuff that I can do better with, hit me up in the comments. If you got value from this video, be sure to go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, stick around, because part 2, I'm going to get into how to cam this up and get it set up for a CNC machine. And then following videos after that, we're going to get out in the actual shop and start doing some real work. And we're going to produce this actual bottle caddy in a multiple different ways. So with CNC, we're going to do it with regular tools, power tools. you name it. So, guys, I appreciate y'all. Keep grinding.